The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. This is how the birth of Jesus Christ came about. When his mother Mary was engaged to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found with child through the power of the Holy Spirit. Joseph, her husband, an upright man, unwilling to expose her to the law, decided to divorce her quietly. Such was his intention when suddenly the angel of the Lord appeared in a dream and said to him, Joseph, son of David, have no fear about taking Mary as your wife. It is by the Holy Spirit that she was conceived, this child. She is to have a son, and you are to name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. All this happened to fulfill what the Lord had said to the prophet. A virgin shall be with child and give birth to a son, and they shall call him Emmanuel, a name which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke, he did as the angel of the Lord has directed him and received her into his home as his wife. The Gospel of the Lord. Let us all be seated. Today is the fourth Sunday of Advent, and the liturgy of the Mass continues to present to us the example of Joseph and Mary as people who have faith and charity. St. Augustine says that if you have faith, but you do not have charity, then your faith is dead, and therefore you cannot go to heaven. So your faith in believing that Jesus is man and God should be accompanied by charity, which is the love of God and neighbor. Now the steps that the liturgy had been telling us, which Joseph and Mary took, are these. First, they were humble. Secondly, because they were humble, they obeyed the command given to them by the angel. And because they obeyed the commands of the angel, which are commandments of God, they made an act of faith. So their obedience to the angel is the sign they have faith. Just as Saint Benedict keeps on reminding us that humility and obedience are the most reliable sign of the presence of faith. And then, because faith must always be accompanied by charity, we see the Blessed Virgin Mary, after talking to the angel, went to Elizabeth, her cousin, to take care of her. Imagine the Mother of God taking care of the mother of a man. Now that shows humble charity. And the same thing happened with Saint Joseph. After talking to the angel in his dream, he obeyed the angel and then performed the act of charity of taking care of Mary and eventually of the child Jesus. Now, the gospel for today explains to us why Joseph was unwilling to accept Mary when she was found to be with child. Now, in the Old Testament, St. Thomas of Aquinas says, when Moses spoke face to face with God, just by the mere fact that he spoke face to face with God, when he came down from the mountain, the people could not bear seeing his face, to the point that Moses had to cover his face with a handkerchief because the people could not bear seeing the face of a man who had seen God. Now, that is the effect of a person who has seen God and has spoken with God, that they begin to shine with the glory of God that other people cannot bear to look at them. If Moses was unbearable, that people could not look at his face just because he saw God, imagine what if a person has God in her womb. All the more the people could not bear to see their faces. And so that is what happened to Joseph, because he was faced not with a Moses who saw God, he is now faced with a woman who possesses God in her womb. And that's the reason why he found himself unworthy to be the husband of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And though like Mary, who wanted to be a virgin, but was commanded by the angel, and she knew very well that was the will of God, that she bear a child, she obeyed. So Saint Joseph, even if he felt himself unworthy to be the husband of a person who has not only looked at the face of God, but who possesses God in her womb, obeyed the angel. And so the obedience of Joseph and Mary were the reliable sign that they had faith. And later on, they would show they had charity when Moses took care of Elizabeth and Joseph took care of Mary and Jesus, of course. The gospel for today shows us Joseph seeing the glory of the presence of God within the Blessed Virgin Mary. He saw Mary was not an ordinary person, was not an ordinary woman. But then, how come during the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, Pope Francis said that Mary was not immaculate. He said that Mary was not an extraordinary woman, that she was just an ordinary woman like every woman. Now, how can she be ordinary? Do ordinary women have the sun as her clothing? Do ordinary women have the moon under her feet or 12 stars around her head? And so he said that, yes, Mary is a follower of Christ. What? Just a follower of Christ? Isn't she the mother of Christ? And so he kept on repeating that Mary is just an ordinary woman like every woman, and that she is not immaculate. To make matters worse, the Franciscan order, who is supposed to be a religious order, are now issuing Christmas cards in preparation for Christmas. But who is pictured in the Christmas card? First, the Blessed Virgin Mary on her 6th month, as the Gospel describes her. But side with the Blessed Virgin Mary is a pagan idol, Pachamama, also pregnant, side by side with the Blessed Virgin Mary on a Christmas card, which seems to convey that Mary is not just an ordinary woman, that she is comparable to an idol or a pagan god. Just imagine what the people are teaching now in the world by Pope Francis himself, by the Franciscan order themselves. And this Christmas card is being sent now to everybody with the greeting, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas with Mary, with the pagan God. So imagine how the world has come into. And so it is so important for us to get our religion right, all the truths of our religion right. And the lesson of the gospel for today is Mary is not an ordinary woman. She is a woman indeed, but the mother of God, because she gave birth to a God by the power of a God, the Holy Spirit. And therefore, the name of her son is not an ordinary name like John. The name of her son is God is with us. And so Mary, having given birth to a God, is referred to as Theotokos, meaning the mother of God. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I believe in one God,
the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all things visible and invisible.